Hello and welcome to Quiz Class. I'm your host, Ellen, and today we have 100 questions on general knowledge. It will be a mix of fun, facts, and maybe even a few curveballs. Here are our Quiz Class awards. Let us know how you rank in the comments at the end, along with the answer to the bonus question. And let's jump right in. Which Arctic explorer perished during the Franklin expedition? John Ross, Sir John Franklin, or Robert Peary? Sir John Franklin. The concept of tabula rasa is associated with which philosopher? John Locke, Hume, or Descartes? John Locke. The lost colony of Roanoke was attempted under the governorship of Humphrey Gilbert, Walter Raleigh, or John White. John White. The Trail of Tears primarily affected which Native American nation? Sioux, Apache, or Cherokee? Cherokee. The Sphinx of Giza is located near which pyramid? Menkaure, Giza, or Khafra? The Pyramid of Khafra. Which U.S. president signed the Indian Removal Act into law? John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, or Martin Van Buren? Andrew Jackson. Dante Alighieri wrote the Divine Comedy in which language? Italian, French, or Latin? Italian. Next up, who discovered the principle of buoyancy? Newton, Archimedes, or Galileo? Archimedes. The Panic of 1837 was triggered by what? Tariff disputes, collapse of the railroads, or lending and land bubbles? Lending and land bubbles. We are at question 10. Let's keep going. The Moai statues are primarily found on which island? Hawaii, Easter Island, or Madagascar? Easter Island. The Wendigo is a creature from which folklore tradition? Celtic, Scandinavian, or Algonquin? Algonquin. The XYZ affair involved tensions between the US and which country? Spain, Britain, or France? France. Who first circumnavigated the globe? Ferdinand Magellan, Francis Drake, or Ferdinand Magellan's expedition finished by Elkin? Magellan's expedition finished by Elkin. The Lascaux Caves in France are famous for what? prehistoric cave paintings, stone carvings, or burial sites? Prehistoric cave paintings. Who wrote the philosophical work Critique of Pure Reason? Leibniz, Hegel, or Immanuel Kant? Immanuel Kant. Moving on. How did the Apollo 11 mission influence American national prestige? Negligible effect, symbolic leadership, or space disputes? Symbolic leadership. Which French Gothic cathedral features the famous flying buttresses? Notre Dame of Paris, the Reims, or Chartres? Notre Dame of Paris. The first U.S. Census was conducted in what year? 1801, 1787, or 1790? (1790). How did the Civil Rights Act of 1968 extend housing protections? Equal opportunity, increased segregation, or excluded housing? Equal opportunity. Nikola Tesla is credited with pioneering which electrical system? Direct current, alternating current, or static electricity? Alternating current. The Pantheon in Rome is notable for which architectural feature? Flying buttresses, large unreinforced concrete dome, or minarets? Large unreinforced concrete dome. The Stono Rebellion of 1739 was led by Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, or Jemmy? Jemmy. Who first sailed from Europe to India around Africa's Cape of Good Hope? Vasco da Gama, Christopher Columbus, or Vasco de Balboa? Vasco da Gama. And here comes another. Which German philosopher wrote Being and Time? Heidegger or Kant? Martin Heidegger. The nullification crisis was a conflict between South Carolina and which federal authority? Congress, the Supreme Court, or President Andrew Jackson? President Andrew Jackson. On to the next. The Kon-Tiki expedition recreated the voyage of which ancient people? Polynesians, South Americans to Polynesia, or Micronesians? South Americans to Polynesia. How did the Patriot Act expand government powers after September 11 attacks? Enhanced monitoring, reduced authority, or restricted surveillance? Enhanced monitoring. Which novel is considered James Joyce's masterwork? A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, Ulysses, or Finnegan's Wake? And ready, here it is. Ulysses. Who formulated the laws of motion and universal gravitation? Copernicus, Galileo, or Isaac Newton? Isaac Newton. The Hudson River School painters are best known for what subject matter? Still lifes, portraits, or landscapes? Landscapes. Which Civil War regiment was the first all-black unit officially recognized by the U.S. Army? 54th Massachusetts, 1st Kansas Colored Infantry, or 20th Maine? 1st Kansas Colored Infantry. The Parthenon in Athens is primarily dedicated to which deity? Athena, Apollo, or Zeus? And here comes the answer. Athena. Marie Curie was the first person to win Nobel Prizes in which two fields? Chemistry and peace, physics and chemistry, or medicine and chemistry? Physics and chemistry. The Midnight Judges issue involved which branch of government? Judiciary, legislative, or executive? The Midnight Judges. Judiciary. How did the Great Recession of 2008 alter long-term federal economic policies? Increased oversight, limited banking, or deregulation focus? Increased oversight. Who wrote 100 Years of Solitude? Mario Llosa, Jorge Luis Borges, or Gabriel Garcia Marquez? Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The Great Railroad Strike of 1877 began in which city? Baltimore, Martinsburg, West Virginia, or Pittsburgh? Martinsburg, West Virginia. Which Italian Renaissance architect designed the dome of Florence Cathedral? Filippo Brunelleschi, Michelangelo, or Bramante? Filippo Brunelleschi. Homer's Odyssey is primarily about which hero's journey? Hector, Achilles, or Odysseus? Odysseus. We are at question 40. The Large Hadron Collider is located in which country? The United States, Switzerland, or Germany? Switzerland. The Library of Alexandria was famed for what? Ancient medical texts, largest collection of ancient knowledge, or religious manuscripts? The largest collection of ancient knowledge. Which U.S. president signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964? Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, or Lyndon Johnson? Lyndon B. Johnson. The Taj Mahal was commissioned as a tomb for whom? Mumtaz Mahal, Akbar, or Cleopatra? Mumtaz Mahal. Next question. The Great Wall of China was primarily constructed during which dynasty? Han, Ming, or Qin dynasty? Qin dynasty. Gregor Mendel is known for discoveries in which field? Evolution, genetics, or microbiology? Genetics. Which French philosopher wrote The Social Contract? Voltaire, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, or Montesquieu? Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Petra, the rock-cut city, is located in which modern country? Jordan, Saudi Arabia, or Iraq? Jordan. The explorer Henry Hudson sailed primarily for which European nation? The Netherlands, England, or Spain? The Netherlands. Which early U.S. colony was founded as a refuge for Catholics? Massachusetts, Maryland, or Rhode Island? Maryland. And we are at question 50. Tell us how you're doing so far in the comments. How did Rachel Carson's Silent Spring influence environmental regulation in the United States? Inspired legislation, promoted farming, or minimal impact? It inspired legislation. The Festus disk is an undeciphered artifact from which ancient civilization? Babylonian, Minoan, or Mycenaean? Minoan. Which U.S. Supreme Court case established the principle of judicial review? McCulloch versus Maryland, Plessy versus Ferguson, or Marbury versus Madison? Marbury versus Madison. The first human to journey into space was Neil Armstrong, Yuri Gagarin, or Alan Shepard? Yuri Gagarin. In Norse mythology, which object binds Fenrir the wolf? Gleipnir, Brisingamen, or Jolnir? Gleipnir. The term iconoclast originally referred to people who opposed what? Philosophical reasoning, royal authority, or religious images? Religious images. Which U.S. president asserted the right to intervene in Latin America through the Roosevelt Corollary? William Howard Taft, Theodore Roosevelt, or Woodrow Wilson? Theodore Roosevelt. And let's keep this going. The Bayeux Tapestry depicts which historical event? the Norman conquest of England, the First Crusade, or the 100 Years' War? The Norman conquest of England. Which ancient philosopher first described the four causes of things? Socrates, Plato, or Aristotle? Aristotle. The Rosetta Stone was key to deciphering which script? Egyptian hieroglyphics, Linear B, or cuneiform? Egyptian hieroglyphs. Who led the Soviet Union during the Cuban Missile Crisis? Leonid Brezhnev, Nikita Khrushchev, or Joseph Stalin? Nikita Khrushchev. And let's keep going. In classical literature, the Aeneid was written by Ovid, Homer, or Virgil? And the answer is Virgil. Your next challenge: how did the Camp David Accords affect U.S. diplomatic role in Middle East negotiations? Reduced influence, increased credibility, or neutral stance? Increased credibility. Who first successfully mapped the Mississippi River from source to mouth? Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet, Hernando de Soto, or Robert de La Salle? Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet. Which U.S. president signed the Interstate Highway Act that transformed national transportation? Harry Truman, Lyndon Johnson, or Dwight Eisenhower? Dwight Eisenhower. Let's see if the next one's easier. Which French mathematician invented analytic geometry? Pascal, René Descartes, or Fermat? René Descartes. And let's keep this going. The ancient city of Teotihuacan is located near which modern city? Oaxaca, Puebla, or Mexico City? Mexico City. Which U.S. state hosted the Sagebrush Rebellion over federal land control? Nevada, Utah, or Arizona? Nevada. The term Renaissance man originated to describe whom? Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, or Raphael? Leonardo da Vinci. The Doomsday Book was commissioned by which king? William the Conqueror, Edward I, or Henry II? William the Conqueror. Which chemical element was first artificially synthesized by humans? Neptunium, plutonium, or technium? Technium. The Voynich manuscript is notable for being undeciphered, a medieval Bible, or written in Latin? And it is undeciphered. Who was the last monarch of the Habsburg dynasty in Austria? Leopold II, Charles I, or Franz Joseph I? Charles I. The triangular trade primarily involved the exchange of which three goods people? Slaves, sugar, rum; gold, spices, slaves; tobacco, tea, cotton. Slaves, sugar, and rum. The mathematician Emmy Noether is known for contributions in which field? Geometry, topology, or abstract algebra and theoretical physics? Abstract algebra and theoretical physics. The ziggurat of Ur was primarily used for what purpose? Religious temples, tombs, or military defense? Religious temples. Here we go to question 76. Who first proposed the germ theory of disease? Robert Koch, Joseph Lister, or Louis Pasteur? Louis Pasteur. The coffin texts belong to which civilization? Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, or Indus Valley? Ancient Egypt. Which U.S. Supreme Court case ruled that segregation in public schools was unconstitutional? Brown versus Board of Education, Dred Scott versus Sanford, or Plessy versus Ferguson? Brown versus Board of Education. The explorer Abel Tasman is credited with discovering which modern region? New Guinea, Australia, or Tasmania? Time's almost up, and the answer, of course, is Tasmania. We are on question 80, and moving right along, which Renaissance figure wrote De Humani Corporis Fabrica? Leonardo da Vinci, Andreas Vesalius, or Paracelsus? Andreas Vesalius. The Edict of Nantes granted religious tolerance to which group? Huguenots in France, Catholics in England, or Protestants in Germany? Huguenots in France. The medieval Hanseatic League was primarily a trade network in which region? Mediterranean, Northern Europe, or the British Isles? Northern Europe. Who was the principal architect of St. Peter's Basilica's dome? Michelangelo, Raphael, or Bramante? Michelangelo. On to the next. The Mont Verde archaeological site is located in which country? Peru, the United States, or Chile? Chile. Which U.S. state was originally established as a haven for Quakers? Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, or New Jersey? Pennsylvania. Who wrote the Book of the Courtier? Erasmus, Machiavelli, or Castiglione? Castiglione. The Minoan civilization was centered on which island? Cyprus, Rhodes, or Crete? Crete. Who formulated the first laws of inheritance in genetics? Charles Darwin, Gregor Mendel, or Thomas Hunt Morgan? And here we go, Gregor Mendel. The Codex Sinaiticus is significant for being a collection of Egyptian spells, earliest Greek epic, or one of the oldest manuscripts of the Bible. One of the oldest manuscripts of the Bible. Which explorer's expedition first proved the Pacific Ocean was larger than expected? James Cook, Vasco de Balboa, or Ferdinand Magellan? Ferdinand Magellan. The Tang Code was a legal code from which dynasty? Song, Tang, or Ming? Tang. We are at question 92. The Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in which modern country? Jordan, Egypt, or Israel? Israel. Which U.S. president issued the Monroe Doctrine? Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe, or John Adams? James Monroe. Which mythological figure was punished by being forced to roll a boulder uphill forever? Tantalus, Icarus, or Sisyphus? Sisyphus. Who wrote the 17th century philosophical work Leviathan? Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, or Montaigne? Thomas Hobbes. The ancient city of Carthage was located near which modern country? Libya, Egypt, or Tunisia? Tunisia. Let's keep going. Don't lose focus. A few more to go. The philosopher Baruch Spinoza is best known for his work in which area? Political theory, ethics and rationalism, or ethics and metaphysics? Ethics and metaphysics. Which U.S. Supreme Court case established the separate but equal doctrine? Dred Scott versus Sanford, Brown versus Board of Education, or Plessy versus Ferguson? Plessy versus Ferguson. The Etruscan civilization primarily influenced the early development of which culture? Persian, Greek, or Roman? Roman. And question 100. Who was the first European to document a sea route around Africa to India? Christopher Columbus, Bartholomew Diaz, or Vasco da Gama? Bartholomew Diaz. And our bonus question, in Greek mythology, which figure was condemned to an eternal punishment involving water he could never drink? Let us know the answer in the comments, and of course, how well you did with our quiz class Einstein rewards. Thanks for playing, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.